And that is a fairly pointed message at the expense of Arsenal.
Guys, it's not over yet, but it's not looking good. Manchester City took Chelsea to the cleaners with an emphatic 3-0 win. Nico O'Reilly, Arsenal's biggest hater of 2026 apparently, did the honors of kicking things off. It's like the guy has a magnet attached to his noggin. Oh dear. Arsenal fans are attacking Bournemouth analysts for celebrating their team's victory, which is wild, but is understandable. You could hear a pin drop in the Emirates throughout just about the entire match, so when the final whistle blew confirming the loss, noise was only gonna come from one group of people. Who knows, maybe it was also coming from Manchester United supporters. They haven't seen their team play for 24 days now, in an active season. Do you know what that does to a man? Very bad things. The answer is very bad things. Chelsea are in a real nightmare situation. Only 11 games into the Rosenior era, and the club is suspending players for begging Real Madrid to save them. They call him LinkedIn Liam. I'm above making a joke about him needing a new job soon, but I mean, they write themselves, don't they? I know people may not like Roberto De Zerbi for reasons we're not going to get into, but spare a thought for the man. Not only is his country not going to yet another World Cup, but he also has to manage Tottenham Hotspur. Life can't be easy, you know.
The opponent wasn't strong enough to beat us, so I wasn't too worried, but football is a football, huh?
With another loss on the books, it is April, and Spurs are still yet to win a Premier League match. In 2026, they are officially in the relegation zone. To make matters worse, Christian Romero went off injured after a challenge by a man who arguably shouldn't have even been on the pitch. It seems the universe does not want Tottenham Hotspur nor Argentina to prosper. Listen to this, guys. Since the end of September, Tottenham Hotspur have won 4 games in the league. Paris Saint-Germain have won just as many games against English teams since then. One of them was against Spurs. PSG play in France. It's a crazy world we're living in. Expressions oozing out of the top flight. On the other side of the table, the Premier League has been blown wide open. Arsenal and City are only 6 points apart. The goal difference battle is only 3 goals apart. City have a game in hand, and Arsenal are traveling to the Etihad next. Again, nothing has been decided yet, but it's not looking good. Hello everyone, hope you're doing well, welcome back. Feels like it's been a while since I've done one of these. I've taken a bit of time to do some more writing and work on some video essays. The Man City one that came out last week is the longest video that's ever been released on this channel, so you can check that one out if you haven't. And the next one is coming up very soon. And if you want to catch it early, you can check out the Patreon that I released for this channel. It is just a way for me to have a presence outside of YouTube, and it also helps to pay for the editing for these long videos and hopefully make them come out a bit faster than usual. But anyway, let's not get too far off topic. Chelsea. Will Chelsea ever have a normal day ever again? I struggle to think so. If you weren't around, here's a quick recap of everything Chelsea over the last month or so. PSG steamrolled them 8-2 in the Champions League round of 16, not ideal, and news comes out that they've been found guilty of signing players in Abramovich times through illegal means, involving backdoor payments to agents. They did self-report though, so I guess that makes it not that bad. People then noticed and started charting the fact that Chelsea had been outrun in every single one of their Premier League games this entire season, which is quite the stat for the youngest team in the league. Youngest by a lot, by the way. 23.5 versus Sunderland with 24.7 in second. Damn. This is crazy. When Rosenior was asked about this, he claimed that we should instead be paying closer attention to their possession stats than the running stats. And fair play to them, they actually do have the 3rd highest possession stats in the entire league so far this year. And you know what? Rosenior is correct, or at the very least he's half correct. Because what do these running stats actually tell us at the end of the day when you present them without context or other statistics? Not very much. Because Chelsea sit in 6th in the Premier League right now, which means that of every other team in the Premier League that has outrun them, which is all of them, there are at least 14 other teams that are worse off than Chelsea and not doing better in the standings. So for the same reason that you can't use possession stats to paint Chelsea in a positive light, you can't really use running stats to paint them in a negative light. What you can use is the fact that Chelsea have only won 1 game in their last 7 in the league, and that is a stat that paints a very definite picture. Moving on from that, in what was clearly a very eventful international break for Chelsea as a whole, it seemed that every single day Chelsea supporters were waking up in that international break, opening up their timelines, and seeing yet another Chelsea star complaining about how they do not rate their team, or pretty much asking another team to come in and save them. Marc Cucurella said that Chelsea were deservedly feeling the effects of a scattered transfer policy and the chaotic manager situation. Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo both made comments about potentially playing for Real Madrid one day. And while Caicedo's comments could be chalked down to journalists just looking for headline quotes, Enzo Fernandez is just shameless. Quote, "I always tell my wife that if I had to choose a city in Europe to live in, I'd love Madrid because it's very similar to Buenos Aires in terms of lifestyle and everything." Brother, you signed a contract until 2031. What are we doing here? You know things have gotten really bad when you have Alejandro Garnacho taking accountability of his behavior over the past. Speaking on his time towards the end of his Manchester United career, he said, quote, "I was only 20 years old, but in my mind, it was like I had to play every game. In my mind, maybe it is also on me. I started to do some bad things." Garnacho is 21, yet he's talking about the previous year like he's regretting a life of poor decisions. Rosenior was right. These men are aging. I think from the very beginning, not a lot of people had faith in or even completely understood this entire Blueco project. Their ambitions to be nothing more than a player trading factory look like they're gonna backfire quite rapidly if their £100 million plus assets keep sending signals to other clubs. It seems inevitable that they will be making a loss on a lot of these players, which is very clearly not what they want. Crazy to think that Chelsea were a Champions League winning side only a year before the takeover. And now, after all of that money spent, they may not even make the Champions League next season, which would honestly be astounding. But still time. There's still time. Maybe they just need to respect the ball a little more. Maybe that will do the trick. Manchester City look like they're primed to do the Manchester City thing right now. They've built up a proper head of steam and it looks like it's only getting stronger. Their last 3 matches have been Arsenal, Liverpool, and Chelsea, and they are up 9-0 in those ties. Beating Arsenal in the League Cup final, knocking Liverpool out of the FA Cup, sinking Chelsea even further, and perhaps the worst is yet to come. Against Chelsea, it did look like Chelsea stood a bit of a chance in the first half. They kept the game honest until that 45-minute mark. But Guardiola apparently made sure his troops knew what was at stake in that team talk. O'Reilly's goal was what should now be considered classic by his standards, a 6'4" left-back bombing into the box while your 6'5" striker lurks around is not ideal. City's second goal was great for so many reasons. First off, we have Ryan Cherky, who was just sensational all game long. He was pulling up the tricks and the flair. Like, for example here, not many players are willing to do this, especially not many Man City players. Guardiola famously does not like flair. This is his reaction to Cherky doing some flair moves against Arsenal in the EFL Cup a few weeks ago. But Cherky still plays. Guardiola likes him, I think. Can't be too sure. In that second goal, he dances around the penalty area, pulls off this brilliant disguised pass to Mark Guéhi. Guéhi has a touch more suited to a striker than a centre-back and drills it low and hard. A nice homecoming for Guéhi too, but City weren't done yet. Spare a thought for Moises Caicedo. Lord knows the fear that was creeping into his mind in this moment. A couple seconds later, and it's in the back of the net for number 3. So I was watching the Arsenal match on Saturday afternoon in the background, but I was really playing video games at the same time, so not paying too much attention. But even when they equalized, I just knew they were not really up to it that game. They weren't creating very much, the players were visibly frustrated and really flustered. I know the Emirates is not exactly well known for its noise levels, but this game was especially silent. The only Arsenal cheers came from winning corners, which is normal at this point, but it's quite the damning indictment. Arsenal weren't even whipping the ball in like they usually do by the end of the game, instead going short and trying to find angles for crosses. I think maybe Arteta might be running out of ideas. The dream of the quadruple went out of the window almost as quickly as that very same dream began to trend in the first place. Out of both the League Cup and the FA Cup in consecutive games, and April's been really shaky as a whole. Against Sporting, they managed to come away from the first leg of the quarterfinal in the Champions League with the win, but they weren't looking at their best. In fact, they haven't been looking at their best for, I would say, about 2 months now. At least 2 months. If rumors of Pep Guardiola actually being close to leaving Man City by the end of the season come to be true, I don't doubt that he's thinking that there is maybe no better way for him to call quits on this incredible tenure he's had with Man City than by pulling off another comeback and really disappointing Arsenal just one more time. Just one more time. He's already outsmarted Arteta recently, and Arsenal have not improved whatsoever in the game since then. Honestly, I don't really care which one of them wins the Premier League. If I'm being completely honest with you, I haven't really cared that much for the last couple of years in any case. You know, the Liverpool versus Man City rivalry, in terms of United, is obvious. And then I grew up in an era where Arsenal versus Man United was the biggest rivalry, the biggest game in the world. So I kind of have that going on. So for me, it's just, I'm just here to watch good football. That's it. Good football and good storylines. It's what I enjoy. It's the passion. This channel is about football stories in any case. Look at the channel banner. But if Arsenal are to really bottle this and really capitulate, like everyone seems to want them to, it's gonna be a really crazy story. This will be the biggest bottle job in the history of top flight football. The emotional scars would be generational. Arsenal started the weekend with a +7 goal difference cushion and a +9 points cushion. Next, they play an in-form City side. Again, life comes at you incredibly fast, you know? And there we have it. Like I said, a short one today, sorry about that, but we do have a longer video coming out later on in this week, so you can watch out for that one. It'll be a goodie. Well, it'll be a goodie if you're not Italian, so let's just put it at that. That's all for me today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you're having a great day. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.